Hey everybody, and welcome back to 911 failures leading to the caller's death, and this would be video 3 of 3. As I've stated before in the previous 2 videos, listener discretion is definitely advised. 16-year-old Kyle Plush called 911 after a tragic mishap happened inside of one of his parents' minivans. As he reached for his tennis shoe from the very back of the van, the third row seat that he had been sitting on collapsed in on him. It pinned him upside down and put the seat in a position where it was now putting pressure on his chest. There was no way he could push himself free as he had no leverage and the seat was far too heavy. With every breath he took, it became harder and harder for him to breathe. He couldn't reach his phone, but smart-thinking Kyle told his Siri app to call 911 for him. Here is a portion of his 911 call.
Hello, Cincinnati 911. What is the address of your emergency? Cincinnati 911.
I'm stuck in my bed outside the 7 Hills parking lot.
The 7 Hills what parking lot?
Help. I need help.
Where are you? Hello?
I'm gonna die here.
Where are you?
So that was Kyle's first 911 call, and that was at 3:16 p.m. Some of what Kyle says is hard to make out, but what is clear is that he's trapped inside of his van outside of the 7 Hills School sophomore parking lot. Now, obviously, that's not the full 911 call, and there was more information that the dispatcher did get from him. After pleading for help several times, the phone call drops. 911 tries to call him back, and it goes to voicemail. Obviously, he couldn't answer his phone. Within 10 minutes of his phone call, at 3:26 p.m., 2 officers, Brian Brazil and Edsel Osborne, arrives at the 7 Hills School parking lot. The dispatcher tells the officers that she heard a female saying, "Help me, I'm stuck inside my van." She says that the woman is possibly in the thrift store parking lot across from the school, which is where Kyle is. They drive around looking for a female in distress and don't see anything. They do not get out of their cruiser to investigate further. They do not go to the parking lot across from the school where the operator stated that the female might be, and they leave 9 minutes after they arrived at 3:37 p.m. The cops assume it was a prank call. At 3:32 p.m., a deputy who is not connected to this 911 call and who is employed by the school starts directing traffic right near Kyle's van. Almost 20 minutes after the first 911 call, Kyle calls 911 again for a second time. Here's a portion of that 911 call.
I probably don't have much time left to tell my mom that I love her if I die. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm trapped inside my gold Honda Odyssey van in the sophomore parking lot of 7 Hills West. Send officers immediately. I'm almost dead.
This time the call is very clear, and there's no confusion as to where he's at, as the 911's GPS system pins his exact location. Kyle begs once again for 911 to send help immediately. He says, "I probably don't have much time left, so please tell my mom that I love her if I die. This is not a joke. This is not a joke." Though the police have his exact coordinates, they never use them. The same officers who are still nearby come to the correct parking lot, and like their earlier visit, neither officer get out of the patrol car to investigate further. They do a few laps around the parking lot and close the call out, assuming it's yet another prank call. At 3:48 p.m., Deputy Allen, the one that had been directing traffic earlier, well, he gets wind of what's going on, so he goes to the thrift store parking lot and assumes that he's looking for a female. He states that he looked inside the van and saw nothing. According to the camera that watches this parking lot, he checks a white-colored van, not the gold Honda Odyssey that Kyle is trapped in. Now, why would Deputy Allen check a white-colored van when Kyle specifically stated that he was trapped inside of a gold Honda Odyssey minivan? Well, the 911 operator who took that second call never relayed the specific vehicle information to any of the officers. This was confirmed by the police chief later on. Deputy Allen states that even though the call was most likely a prank, he would continue looking. Here's a recording of Deputy Allen's communication with dispatch that day.
I'm just following up on a couple of your guys pulled up, and there was a complaint. A woman said she was stuck in a van. I was in there. I just looked in the van, but I didn't see anybody in it. There was only like one van in by the thrift store. Okay. All right. Well, I'll see if I can find anything else. So,
Okay.
I find out it wasn't, she's pranking. She's going to jail.
After checking the white-colored van, video shows him moving south and further away from Kyle. Throughout the evening, Kyle's parents wondered where their son was, but assumed that he'd be home soon. They kept checking the Life 360 app that his mother had installed on her phone and could see that he, or at least his phone, was still at the school, but long after the tennis match that he was attending had ended. Kyle's parents both called and texted their son many times, but he never answered his phone and he never responded. After several hours, Kyle's parents are very worried, as they can see that their son's phone has not moved from its location. Kyle's dad jumps in his car and rushes to where his son's phone's at. On his drive over, you can imagine the type of thoughts he must have had. He was thinking the worst. He was thinking that his son was possibly kidnapped. He arrives at the parking lot shortly before 9 p.m. All of his fears and worries could not prepare him for what he found. Upon initially looking inside the van, he could see no signs of Kyle. He could see that his son's tennis racket was still inside the van, which told him that his son had never made it to the tennis match. He opened all of the doors of the van, and that's when he found Kyle, wedged between the seat and the back door. There were no signs of life from his son, and he started screaming. A passerby heard this and called 911.
In the parking lot, in the senior lot, there's a man running around, possibly screaming, call 911.
Sadly, Kyle was beyond saving. At the time that his father found him, he had been trapped in that van close to 6 hours by then. He had been dead a few hours before his father had even found him. Why did Kyle have to die? Why didn't the officers do a more thorough search? It all boils down to what the dispatcher relayed to the officers. She didn't tell them that the person who was calling was actually begging for help and that they were fearful of dying. She never told them that. The officers just assumed that they were looking for a woman who was having trouble getting out of her van. Kyle's calls were chalked up to no more than a prank as he lay there suffering. He did everything that he could have done to save himself, and 911 failed him. Had the dispatcher told the officers more detailed information about the van, such as color, make, and model, and that the caller was seriously distraught, and had the officers got out of their patrol car to search more thoroughly, Kyle would be alive today. He was only 16 with his whole life ahead of him. Both of his parents were devastated by the loss of him. A family of 4 was now a family of 3, and it would never be the same again. His manner of death was asphyxiation caused by the back seat compressing his chest. I can't even begin to imagine how horrible his death was. Think about it. You're stuck upside down being slowly suffocated to death. It's a horrible way to go. Kyle's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Cincinnati and won a record-breaking $6 million settlement, as well as a guarantee that their 911 call center would be getting retraining and upgrades to their system. I definitely agree that the 911 call center and the operators need retraining, as well as the patrolling units. They all need new protocols in place. Honda, the maker of the Odyssey minivan, received a dire warning just weeks prior to Kyle's death. Another owner of the same make and model van was having problems with the third row folding seats not staying in place, just like they were in Kyle's van. The owner said whenever anyone sits on them or puts any pressure on the back of the seat, it just flips backwards, potentially injuring or killing someone. It didn't matter if the vehicle was parked or on the move. The latch was faulty and it didn't keep it in place. Furthermore, she strongly advised a recall. Unfortunately, there was no recalls at the time of Kyle's death. So you see, there's several issues going on with this case, but it all comes down to a 16-year-old boy lost his life and it didn't have to happen. And that's the end of video 3 of 3 of 911 failures leading to the caller's death. If you watched the previous 2 videos, I want to thank you so very much. Even if you only watched this one, thank you. But if you're curious about them and want to watch, I'll put the links in the videos in the description box below. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. Pretty please with a cherry on top. No, really, I could use more subscribers. It's not that hard, just click that cute little kitty at the bottom right of the video and voila, you are subscribed. So what do you think of this case? I would really love to hear your thoughts. Come on, the comment box is just below. You know you want to. I'll be uploading many more videos and you don't want to miss them, so stay tuned. Thank you once again. Stay safe out there, people.